Okay, we are live. Hi, Bridget, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing, Miss
Good.
Susan?
So, all
Great.
right.
Uh,
Welcome, everybody. We are here for our third Thursdays live on Boys Town Parenting. And we have Bridget Barnes with us, the director of Boys Town, Nebraska's Common Sense Parenting Program. And we are talking something very near and dear to me that I need to figure out how to get fixed, I think, in my home. That a lot of parents probably have the same issue of getting teens to do chores and getting everybody to help out around the house and do their part, and not be super annoyed and upset about it. So I'm glad you're here.
okay, wow. Yeah, I have been asked that question over the years many times, so you're not alone, Susan.
Good,
Lots of
good.
parents have this question.
So
hmm
now I know you've got a list of, the top 10 reasons why chores fail and parents end up doing them. So let's go through that
Great.
list to get us started.
Okay, so number one, not having a routine. So when you don't have a routine like chores start at this time, they should be, completed by this time, and then these other things happen. When there's no routine in the house, it is more likely that kids won't do their chores or follow through on chores if you just tell them. So they have to have it routinely in their life. It's always happening. It's not something that someone asks me to do. It's part of my daily habit. So making chores a habit and not an ask. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Number two, make it very clear what you want done. Make your expectation clear. So sometimes we tell children to do something like clean your room. Well, their version of clean and our version of clean are two different versions. So make sure you maybe even write that out and very descriptively say, this is what you need. You need soap, you need water, you need a rag, you need a broom,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is they need for that chore. And then when it should be completed as well. How long should it take? And when it should be completed so kids don't get off task. Because parents get irritated with that when kids get off task or they don't do it as they expect them to do it, and then they go in and do that task. So make sure you clearly explain and in writing too what
Yeah.
the expectation is.
I think last
Number
time,
three.
oh, sorry, last time we talked about this, you
Oh,
suggested taking little note cards and writing out step by step for each chore so that they could just pull the note card, know exactly what to do,
yeah.
put it back. We tried that in our house, and that worked really well.
Did it help? Good. Yeah, you can. Some people put it on really fat popsicle sticks
Oh yeah.
and put it in a jar. And then each kid has a chore, like three chores in their jar that with their name on it. And when they do the chore, they can take that popsicle stick out, and then the chore should be done, and then you can go check it. So you
That's a
can
great
have
idea.
lots of different ways, whether you write it all out, put it on a ring, put it somewhere that the kid pulls it off, and they check what they're supposed to do in detail, or just the popsicle stick that describes the chore and that you track whether that chore is being done or not.
That's great.
Great. Well, ask any questions as I go
I
through my
will.
top 10. But number three, number three reason why we end up doing chores that our kids should be doing
Yeah.
is, not really expecting children, you know, to take responsibility. We give them the chore and then we kind of take it back. Like they
Yeah.
didn't do it good enough. Let me go do that thing. The bathroom's not clean enough. Let me go clean it. So we're behind them doing the chore that we've asked them to do. So if the chore is not done and we've been very clear about the expectation and we're tracking it and the child still doesn't do the chore, we should let them go back and do that chore until they get it done. If they want to spend half their morning doing that same chore until it's done correctly, that's their choice because you've been pretty clear and the expectation isn't over their head. It isn't something that they can't do.
Right.
So little bitties, when my son was 4 or 5, his job was he was the rag ringer. He went around finding rags that were already used and he put it in the hamper. So that's all he had to do. And as he grew up, then, being able to
They got
do
more
his own
appropriate.
laundry and things
Yeah.
like that. So, make it reasonable for the child. So make sure that the expectation is reasonable and then let the child take responsibility for that reasonable expectation.
Awesome.
Number 4, okay, kids are motivated to do the chore. If you don't have any motivation to do a chore, then, my thing, I don't know about you, Susan, but when I think, oh, here's that laundry I got
Yeah.
to fold, then I think, oh, I can have a mommy snack if I do this laundry. I mean, I say that to myself
Yeah.
to motivate myself to fold the laundry. And kids need the same kind of, motivation, right?
Right.
So, and it doesn't have to be something you buy. I don't want parents to go out buying things and make kids do their chores. There's chores they should do as part of the family. But there's things that happen in daily life, like I want to turn on the TV, or I want to get on the computer, or I want to call my friends. Well, did you do your chore? No. Well, okay, why don't you do that chore, and then we can talk about you being able to get on screen time or do the things that you want to do. That cost no money around them.
Right. Right.
So motivation. Do you use motivators in your home to?
We do. And I was thinking when you said the popsicle stick example that would be a great thing to do if you had like blue popsicle sticks. So if they do all 3 chores, then they get to pull a blue popsicle stick, and on there is, 20 minutes of screen time or game night or, something fun that, like you said, doesn't cost any money and is easy to give away for a good job well done. What if?
Right. And you also get to eat popsicle sticks.
Yeah,
popsicles.
eat popsicles to get it. There's your mommy stacks. Got it. All works out.
Great.
So what about
Right,
if we're having issues where it's consistently not done well? How do you address that?
Well, definitely, monitoring why a chore isn't done. So don't give a child a chore and then skip away, and act like that's going to be done.
Yeah.
So you'll want to make sure that you monitor. And a good way to monitor is to have kids check in with you. In 10 minutes, whether you're done with that chore or not, I want you to check in with me. And every time you check in on time, you're going to be earning something that you want. Even just being on time is a good thing, and being on task, because that's what gets kids off, from not doing their chores. They're
Right.
not on task, and they're not on time. That's what we don't like about kids and chores. Not on task, and they're not on time. So give them that kind of where you're monitoring it. Just don't walk away from kids doing chores.
Mm-hmm.
So and then that's when you can be able to give feedback. Because sometimes we're not giving praise to kids about the chore. They do it, I'm done, okay, we say. And kids go their merry way. But if they're doing the chore and they did it well, and they're checking in with you, you go and look at it, you're like, hey, wow, you did this really great. Wonderful job.
Yeah.
Okay? And then I usually put a period on the end of my praise, not a but you should have did
Yes.
X, Y, and Z. I
That's-
just put
yeah.
a period on it. Then I might say, okay, so when you get finished with washing the sink out and sweeping this up, check back in with me in the next 10 minutes. So I just give it instruction versus criticism, and I monitor them as they are doing the chore, so that I don't get to the end of it and the chore's not done right, and now we have to start all over. So kids don't get frustrated. So I kind of monitor throughout a chore. The more complex, the more monitoring I might do.
Right. Well, and probably too,
So-
the older they get, hopefully you don't have to monitor them as much. But if they know what's expected, then, the older they get, the more they expect to.
You would hope. Yeah, you would think that as they would get older, the less monitoring you would have to do. But sometimes it depends.
You're probably
on the
right.
kid.
Yeah.
And,
You're probably right.
So you will want to just, tailor that to the. All right. So we talked about monitoring and praising kids and giving feedback. It is important to give kids feedback so they know what they're doing right or wrong, and don't just let them do the whole chore wrong and say, that was wrong. It's like me playing golf, and then you wait till I'm on the 18th hole and say, Bridget, you should have pulled up. You might want to tell me that when I'm on the 6th. So definitely giving them feedback throughout. So another thing that really hurts kids in regards to, being able to do chores is sometimes when they're ill or there's a crisis, a parent will take over a chore, and that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
When kids are going through something, for us to give them a break. I know if I was going through a crisis and my husband would say, oh, I've hired a maid to come in and clean the house, I would go, well, yes, that was great.
Fantastic.
And sometimes you need that support. The problem is when parents don't hand back over that responsibility when the crisis is over with the child. They just keep doing that thing that they inherited during the crisis. So I would say that, once your daughter's over the breakup and she's feeling better, I'm sorry, to go ahead and say, okay, here we go. This is your chore. I'm going to.
Right.
So sometimes when parents don't take back the chore, it really can cause a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, not making chores fun. I remember growing up, and my parents would play some 60s music, and it was like Saturday, and we would do like a thorough cleaning, and people would be dancing and cleaning. I don't think we hardly knew that it was chores.
Right.
Because we were having so much fun dancing and singing and doing our favorite song as we cleaned the mirrors, acting like we were the Supremes or whatever the case may be. So, try to make it fun. Play some music, and you will find that the kind of music you play kind of quickens the pace. People will start moving depending on the music. And then when my father would begin to play, more classical, we know we want to get done because this classical music is starting.
That's perfect. I love it.
And so definitely, using it as a fun time and a family time that everybody's cleaning, not just this one kid or, that kind of thing. If you can have a day where there's some thorough cleaning going on, great. Another thing is, there could be a day where it's like no chore day. Mm-hmm. I don't care about your room. Shut your room on Wednesday. I'm going to shut that door. I'm not going to look at that room. And not getting yourself all bent out of shape when when people aren't doing chores. And so when you designate a time, a day that there aren't going to be any chores, then you can kind of ease into that. Some moms and dads really have a problem, with, getting things clean and just right and that kind of thing, and they get stuck there and begins to be an argument and a power struggle where kids can really begin to push back on you. So if you have a no clean afternoon where nobody's going to ask you to do a chore and you're okay with that, that could be part of your regimen, just to give yourself and your kids a break from the argument of
yeah.
So when sometimes kids don't follow through on chores when they're too complex. They're in over their heads. They might even be dangerous. You shouldn't put your kids in that situation. I remember when my son was younger, he wanted to get on the lawnmower, and we had to sit down lawnmower, and he wanted to get on that thing, and I was like, that's not happening.
Not your chore. Yeah.
It's too dangerous. But when he did become of age, he was a prodigal young man, but we had trained him how to do it, and then he was able to drive it and go around in circles. We watched him from the window. There he goes. He was having a great time with that particular chore, but he had to, work up to that. So make sure that it's not too complex what you're asking the kid to do, or that it's really they're in over their head. It's not a safe thing for them to be doing. That would be a time that will fall on your shoulders to do. Yeah.
So when you write out steps, if you're writing out 9 steps for an 8-year-old, it's probably a little too complex of a chore.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I had that realization.
You probably should write them.
Yeah, I had that realization when I was writing out chores. I was like, okay, well, maybe this is a little bit too much. It didn't seem like that difficult, but when I broke it down to, okay, well, first they're going to have to go here to get this supply, and then they're going to have to go here, and then they're going to have to. So when helping, write out all those steps really helped me realize what was and was not probably appropriate for the younger ones.
Yeah. And I got a little caddy. You want to make sure also when you deal with chemicals that you are around and you don't let younger children be exposed. It even says on the label. So, the younger the child, and if there's chemicals involved, it's one thing to take the duster and you do the dust busting or to, that kind of thing. And when my son was younger, I would do part of the chore, and then he would do the part he could do. And as he got older, he began to do more of the chore and more until it was all his. So I might be doing things that I know I should be doing because it's too complex for him. And then he would do a little bit of the chore when he was younger until he could do it all by himself.
Great.
They can kind of grow into the chore.
Yes.
This is your chore.
Well, then they already know what to do because they've been watching you do it.
Yeah. Another good thing, I know that at Boys Town we have monitors, like other kids who learn how to do a chore and can do it well will help a younger child learn to do that chore, right? and they monitor that chore, and then they praise the younger child and good job of doing that. And so that praise from a big brother, big sister, wow, little kids, I mean, they're more motivated by that big brother or big sister saying good job, or okay, you need to do it this way, than they're more than if their parent had said that. So sometimes using older brothers and sisters to teach a chore, to help a younger child with a chore as part of their chore.
That's great.
And then you kind of get those little stair steppers into those chores as they begin to be capable of doing that. That makes sense?
That's great. Yes.
Okay, good. So yeah, I think that, there's lots of reasons as parents, you can have some of those super moms and do it dads who, just really have a difficult time letting go of some of the responsibilities of chores and feel like they should be doing all the chores. And I think, you really set kids up for failure in life when they don't have chores around the house that they're supposed to be doing, because it teaches them to be on task, to be responsible, to check in with people, all the things we would want them to do in a job environment. Also, we've seen in some research that I saw that chores actually help kids with being able to do well in school. So you might not think so, but
That makes sense.
It's like music in math. The things that you wouldn't have thought would have anything to do with something else. But the repetitive behavior of chores is actually helpful to kids at school, and the kids who do have chores and routine chores do better with being organized, knowing how to start and stay on task with things, that kind of stuff that they need in a school environment as well. So chores actually help kids beyond the household, and they should have them as part of their, routine.
I mean, I think that makes perfect sense. I think having oh, can you not hear me? I was saying I think that makes perfect sense. Having that responsibility is just a great thing for kids to learn, especially when it's consistent and ongoing. I mean, of course, that helps with homework and making better students.
Yeah, and they feel like, hey, I've been able to grow and meet the challenge. When my son was able to get on the lawnmower, and he really kind of knew kind of a rite of passage. I've gotten to a point in my life, and he loved making the diamonds on the lawn, and he was talking to the neighbors. He was very proud of his lawn.
Yeah.
So there was a day that was a cool thing for him. Yeah.
Good. All right. What's another reason parents fail? Well, chores fail, and then parents end up doing the chores.
Well, probably, like I said, not having those. The biggest one, I think, is sometimes parents don't have a clear expectation of what they want. They haven't really thought about it. They've been doing it so long, or the child is now able to, or they haven't really kind of said, what do I want this kid to do, and how much of that, and really thought that through. Like you said, when you begin to write it down, then you thought, okay, might be okay for my teenager, but this is not okay for my 8-year-old. So I think really taking the time and think about what chores do my kids need to be doing, and what do I expect from them. I don't think parents really sit down and go, okay, I do want that pillow, I do want the bed tucked, I do want things out there, what do you want?
Right.
And then making that fairly clear to kids in writing. And I over the last 30 some odd years, I think that's the biggest thing that stands in the way of parents, is they don't really make it clear what they want, and then kids give them whatever, here you go, I cleaned the room. Well, that's not what I wanted. Well,
right.
You didn't say what you wanted.
And then
clean the room.
And they end up redoing it, and then nobody learns how to do chores anyways. Right. Yes. I've been there, Bridget.
It ends up to be an argument, and everybody gets frustrated. The kid's like, well, I did it, get off my back, and then they get sidetracked in the argument. And so just to set the expectation, make it clear, write it down, talk to your kid about it, say when you want it done, how long it should take them, and then check, make sure you hop around and check in, or have them check in with you. You don't have to, you can live your own life.
Right.
But, also, you have to have chores. I think when kids seeing us work, modeling, you can say, do as I say and not as I do. You're not having a routine like, okay, I'm going to do the laundry.
Yep.
Time I'm going to do this. So you have chores as well, and kids see that example. of you doing that, then that's also helpful. But if you're not doing chores and your bed is a mess,
Yeah.
yeah. So modeling.
Modeling is very good. Yes. I also think the other thing, it's difficult as a parent to, when you've done something a certain way for a long time, to see it done a little bit differently, but setting expectations is good, but also just being okay with it not being perfect as you want it for a while, I think is also important to note, because otherwise, you're doing it and you're setting yourself up to do all the chores all the time forever. But, working with them at it, helping them improve at it, and just being okay with it not being perfect for a little bit is very important.
Yeah, perfection. Yeah, it can be, definitely a drawback, and for yourself and for your kids.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, it's more important to have a good relationship with your child, and for them to grow into that skill set that you obviously can do with your eyes closed and one hand behind your back. But that's not where your kid is. So
Right.
I would not make my relationship suffer with my child over how they set the table. I would, if that child put everything on the table, and sometimes I'll do a mirror effect. So I'm on one side of the table, and my, 8-year-old's on the other side. And they're putting the plates, not exactly like I would want them, and the napkin down and the forks and everything, but I mirrored, this is how I would do it. And so my son would look over and see what I was doing, and he'd keep doing it. After a while, he began to mirror I would never tell him this side was wrong.
Right.
I would just do my side.
Yeah, that's great.
And so just by my modeling, without criticism, he just looked and thought, oh, that goes here, and then he would mirror me. Look, Mom, mine looks just like yours. Oh, cool.
Great.
That kind of thing.
So we had one question come in when it comes to teens. If you failed as a parent, I love this question because I can so relate. If you failed as a parent getting your kids to do chores when they were kids and little, is there any way to change them when they're teenagers?
The answer is yes, and it's not going to be easy. So, we know it would be much easier if we started when they were young and they would grow into the chore. But if you have been doing all those chores for them, and then one day we wake up and go, hey, that teenager's going to start doing these chores a day, expect that there's going to be some pushback to that, and there's going to be some failures as far as their ability to follow through on things. But your setup is going to be key. That if you wake up one day and you say, hey, this teenager really could do his own laundry, or he really could do this task, then really clearly set out the expectation. Don't assume just because he's 15 that he knows, because you haven't expected that all this time.
Right.
If you cook, my mom used to cook wonderful meals. I really did not realize how much went into those home cooked meals until COVID-19 happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, it was a lot of work to peel all that and cut all that. So definitely, kids won't know all the ins and outs unless you clearly set that out, regardless of their age. So if you got that kid, and write it down, talk to them about it, tell them the time they should be done with it. Don't just leave it open,
Right.
And put it in a routine. Before you do this in the morning, you need to have done this. And then say what you mean and mean what you say. If you said this is going to happen, this consequence is going to happen, then follow through on that.
Yeah.
Positive or negative. So
make
sure there's both, not just a negative consequence for when kids don't do chores, but also positive.
Yeah. Screen time has been amazing for us for that, because you made that recommendation a while back on, earn little bits of screen time. That's something that they very much want right now. So the second screen time runs out, it's okay, do this chore, then you can have another hour. And that's been fabulous for us, for kids who have not done chores consistently, all throughout their lives, who now are home and have much more free time, and much more availability to be doing more chores. So that's been really helpful in our home.
Yeah, and hopefully when you go back to the regular life or routine, that you don't let some of those things go away.
Yeah.
Just because they're getting busy now doesn't mean that chore should go away and become yours again. I think that you'll be able to fit it in, and if you can figure out if it's in the routine and happening, maybe not everything gets done in the morning. Maybe they start something, they get so much of it done, they come back in the afternoon, they finish out a complex task, like vacuuming the floor in their bedroom, versus in the morning, I just made the bed and made sure everything was off the floor. So make it
Yeah.
reasonable, your routine for your lifestyle. If it is a very fast morning, don't expect kids to get everything done in the morning.
Right.
It is better to do it at night, but vice versa. It just depends on the household. So make it fit your household and your time frame. Maybe you'll need to break that chore into parts depending on the day.
What about visual aids? Is it important to have, like a chart or a list up of who should be doing what, or does it just really, depend on the family?
It depends on the family and the need, but I have to say, when it comes to charts, I really make kids in charge of charts, because when parents are in charge of charts, they can't keep it up because they have a life. So, it
Yeah,
gets too
good
much
point.
for a parent. And if they, it just, I would say, if you had a chart and the kid, and there's a magnet, and the kid moves the magnet and says, okay, I've done this, now I've done that, now I can be able to do that. That's that kid's responsibility. When I go and see that magnet has been moved to this point, and I go back and I'm, checking in on the chore, and I see that it hasn't been done, I'm going to go to the kid and find them and say, hey, listen, you moved your magnet all the way to that you're finished. However, let's go and look at that room again.
Right.
So I would make kids in charge of charts. I'm only in charge of monitoring it and making sure that it's true, that it is
That
accurate.
it's done. That's good. I like that. I like that a lot. We talked about rewards. What about with little kids? When do you first start little kids on chores? And you talked a little bit about what's age appropriate, but what's a good time to start if you've got littles?
I think little bitties love chores. They think it's a wonderful thing. And we're really sad when they grow out of that thinking.
Right.
So I would say, whenever they want to be around, they want to be with mommy or daddy, and they're holding onto my leg, and I'm cleaning something, and I might give them the dust buster, and they're doing something while I'm cleaning something. So they're not doing really cleaning, but they're busy. And that's what I want them to do. And they're thinking about being on task, and they're understanding, some work is being done here. Mommy's doing it, so therefore I am. So I never think it's really too soon. I'm sure, an infant, no, but, if I am able to walk and ask questions and, be interested, then I keep them with me, and they might, help me with a few things. Again, keeping chemicals out of the way, out of their reach, and that they would do things that would be safe for them to do.
Awesome.
Put the water in the dog bowl. Let's try that. Good job.
Yeah.
And I think we have some cards up on our website of chores that are appropriate for little kids and older children, that if that can give you a kickstart in the right way to use those little chore cards that are up there on our Boys Town website.
Yeah, those are nice. They're job cards, and they're also combined with joy cards. So you can use them based on behavior, whether they pick a job card or they pick a joy card. We lost Bridget for a minute. Or the other example you can do is, kind of like with our popsicles, you can do, 3 job cards, and then if those are done correctly, then they get a joy card. So those are a great
and they're
tool.
already made.
Yep, they are.
Yeah.
And there's a younger kid one and an older kid one. So we'll post a link up to here on that after the live, Bridget. Great idea.
Yeah. And Susan, I don't know, do you have family meeting? Does your family get together once a week or once a day or sometime to have kind of meet together? Do you ever do any of that?
Usually at the end of dinner is when we will have our, family meeting, but it's not as structured, but that's the time that we kind of set aside to discuss anything like, what, do we need new chores? Are we Are we doing things as we should be doing things? What does the week look like? Things like that.
Mhm. Well, family meeting would be a wonderful time that we could take advantage of, you know, acknowledging our kids and, giving them the praise, giving them the love about chores. And when you make a big deal out of something, then it becomes a big deal.
Yeah.
It becomes an important thing. It becomes, something that kids think, yeah, I did that. I was able to, organize the pantry. Wait for me,
Yeah.
So, you might think it's little, and kids might play it off like it doesn't matter, but it really does. Yeah, because we make it important and we acknowledge their efforts. So when the kids take care of the household, and this is our home, we're representing us, and you're doing a great job with the lawn, or you're doing a great job with making sure your room is clean. Uh, that family meeting can really mean a lot. So make sure you praise kids and acknowledge them in front of other people. It's one thing to say that to them in their room by themselves, and it's another thing to acknowledge them in a group that they've done something that's kind of stood out to you in regards to their chore. They've been able to do it every day this week without you having to hover over them. Shows how mature they're being and how much they're growing up. And the teenagers want to hear that kind of stuff.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. I think we covered everything we've got. So I appreciate all of the great advice, and I look forward to a very clean house here in the future.
Well, you get closer and closer to it.
Yes,
Have
exactly.
some reasonable expectation. It won't happen overnight.
I know.
It should happen on a consistent basis. So
yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for your time, Bridget. Thanks everybody for joining.
You're welcome, you guys.